Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if this is your first time here. So I'm doing a voiceover reading. I explained this in my last voiceover reading. I think it was the one about karma. I'm going to be doing these readings from time to time. I usually record my readings like in front of the camera, but there's times when I can't do that. So I figured it would be better to just do these voiceover readings instead of just not posting anything, you know. So this reading is going to be about manifesting love into your life. So if you feel like you are lacking love in your life, or you've been trying to manifest or attract love, this will hopefully give you some clarity. And it doesn't have to be about romance. This could be attracting love as in like new friendships, or maybe attracting a career that you love. So just kind of take it as it resonates. Also, something weird is going on outside. It's like some really loud noise. I'm not sure if it's a truck or whatever, but hopefully you won't be able to hear it in the background. Okay, so let's jump right into it. The first two cards out are Totality and the Great Fortune card. And the Totality card is here in the reverse. So that's letting me know that some of you are not focused on the present moment. So you can be living in the past, or you could be thinking about the future a little bit too much. There's a need for you to focus completely on the present moment, because that is something that is actually blocking you from manifesting love. So for example, if you've been trying to manifest a romantic partner, like a life partner, it could be that you're focused a lot on things that have happened to you in the past, or you are just kind of worried about your future, or a combination of both. Because usually when we are kind of reliving certain things that happened to us in the past, it's natural for us to almost kind of guard ourselves, if that makes sense. It's like you're thinking about something in the past that might have hurt you, and therefore it's making you very hyper vigilant. Like you want to guard yourself so that that past experience doesn't repeat itself in the future. So you can see how that creates a lot of emotional conflict or emotional instability, because it's like you're living in the past and then in turn you're anxious about the future. So there's a need for some of you to live more in the present moment, and I think that that can only happen if you resolve these past issues. Like some people will tell you, oh, just stop living in the past, just, you know, focus on the present, but that's kind of impossible when you've been through very like harsh or traumatic things in the past, because it kind of just plays over in your head over and over. And even if you suppress the thoughts about the past, it'll still pop up. It'll pop up through your behavior, like your interactions, the people that you're attracted to. A lot of that has to do with past wounds that have not been healed or cleared yet. So it's important not to ignore the past, but instead to review it in order for you to heal and then move forward into a happier present and a happier future. Trying to see if I'm getting anything else with that card. Also, Totality, if I'm not mistaken, it also means that moment, like when you have a solar or a lunar eclipse, like the moment where the sun or the moon is completely blacked out, that's totality. So for some of you, you are living, I'm getting two messages here. Some of you are living in someone else's shadow. That's an odd message. You're living in someone else's shadow. This could be that you've been through things in the past where people have brought out the worst in you, or you feel like you've brought out the worst in them. It's something about living in someone's shadow that's here. Or there's like some big shoes that you feel like you can't fill, as in like you have an idea of the ideal version of yourself and you feel like you can't reach that version of you. It's like when you stop and think about, okay, what would I look like or be like when I'm at my best? Like, what's the best version of me look like? It's like you think about that, and then there's this big gap because you feel like you can never reach it, or you feel like you're so far from that version of you. It's almost discouraging and intimidating. Be careful about that, because I feel like a lot of people struggle with that, especially since, you know, self-love and healing and things of that sort are becoming more popular. Well, Yeah, I guess you could say popular, not in a bad way, but not saying that it's a trend or a fad. But I just think that a lot of people are awakening to the importance of healing. And sometimes when we are on this healing journey, we can think of the best version of ourselves that we want to be. And we can think that that's a good thing, that we're setting that goal. But sometimes it's actually devaluing yourself. So it's like you're living in your own shadow, like, because like your future self or the ideal version of you, it's like your current you can't live up to it. And it's almost like you feel like you're living in a shadow. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like if you have like an older sibling who's like an overachiever and your parents are constantly praising them and you feel like you're not that talented or you're not that great, and you're like, okay, how can I get that praise that my older sibling is getting? Like, I need to be better. And really, it just causes you to feel like shame, or it just causes you to feel like you're always playing catch up. It's like that dynamic, but you're doing that with yourself. Like, you're doing that with the ideal version of yourself. So there definitely is some self-acceptance that's needed here. Just because you're on a healing journey, it doesn't mean that you have to fully reject who you are right now, or it doesn't mean that you have to treat yourself as if there's something wrong with you, because there's nothing wrong with you at this moment. At this moment, you're deserving of love. You're deserving of romantic love, friendships, career success. Like, you're deserving of all of this, but you just don't know it, because in your mind, you're thinking that you have to reach this ideal version of you in order for you to be deserving of it. When in all actuality, like I said, you're deserving of it right now. So your healing journey is really just supposed to remind you that you're deserving of it right now. It's not about reaching a certain pinnacle of who you are or who you're supposed to be, and now you deserve love. Like, you deserve it at this moment. So your healing journey's main focus should be remembering that you deserve it at this moment. For some of you, you literally are living in someone else's shadow. Like, I gave the example of like an older sibling, or possibly like in the past, like the lovers that you've had, like your past romantic connections or friendships, you always felt like you weren't put center stage, like you were not made to feel important, is what I'm seeing. So some of you have adopted that idea that you really aren't important because people from your past have treated you that way. And now it's time for you to start reprogramming that part of your mind that says that you are not important. It's time to start treating yourself like you are important. And that is definitely going to help you to balance out your energy and attract love into your life. So when I say treating yourself like you're important, that means making decisions in which you're basically putting yourself up on a pedestal. And that's not in a conceited or cocky way. This is just a way to balance out the energy, because if you've been treated like you're invisible your whole life, it would make sense that in order to counterbalance that, you need to really work overtime to make yourself feel special. You see what I'm saying? It's like if someone was raised in a healthy environment and they have healthy self-esteem, they don't have to take that extreme route of putting themselves up on a pedestal, because they already have that solid self-esteem. But for those of us who did not come from that, we do need to put ourselves up on more of a pedestal in order for us to heal. I really hope that makes sense. So for example, I am decorating my house right now, and I'm incorporating a lot of like gold and a lot of like silk fabrics and things of that sort, like things that are very luxurious, because of my past. In the past, I've been treated in a way that just was the opposite of royalty. It was the opposite of delicacy. It was the opposite of trying to figure out the word for it. Just put it this way. I am investing in decorating my house to make it look like a palace, because I've been treated the complete opposite of that in the past. So now it's like balancing out my subconscious mind, or balancing out that program that tells me that I'm not worthy, by treating myself to things that look luxurious, feel luxurious. I'm very invested in my comfort. Like, I make sure that I'll buy a very good quality mattress pad, or like very good quality pillows, like really investing in yourself and sending the message to yourself that you are important. You don't have to spend a lot of money to do this. I'm just giving that as an example, but it's like treating yourself like you are important, and you're going to start to see a shift in the things that you attract into your life. Also, some of you need to stop playing small, is what I'm hearing. Because some of you are actually a big deal and you just don't know it, or you're hiding it for some odd reason. Actually, I channeled a message about this not too long ago, about how some of you, or some of us, I should say, that are in the same soul tribe, are very talented, and you are afraid to put your talent on display because you equate success with pain. So some of you could have grew up in a household where you were maybe the black sheep, or if you were raised by a narcissist, anytime you try to be successful at anything, soon afterwards something would happen where you would be knocked down by that person, or your self-esteem would be knocked down, because when you're living amongst narcissistic people or just dysfunctional, abusive people in general, they really don't like to see you shine. That could be family, that could be friends, whoever. They don't like to see you shine. So when you do start to shine, they'll find a way to knock you down, and eventually that programs into your mind that success equals pain. So you have to play it small in order for that person not to knock you down. Even if that person is long gone, or these people are long gone from your life, it has still been programmed in you that you need to play it small, because if you actually show your talents and get praise and accolades for it, it's like your mind automatically thinks you're going to be punished in some way for it, or you're going to be torn down, because that's what's always happened to you in the past when you were dealing with narcissistic people trying to dull your shine. So some of you are really needing to show your talents. And I know this reading is about attracting love, and so far I've said nothing about actual external love coming into your life, and that's because love starts internally first, and then you manifest it externally. So this is not going to be like a rundown of things you need to do in the external world in order to attract a certain person. This is all going on inside of you. Like, these are your internal workings that need to be kind of tweaked or healed in order for you to fully, or to really attract love externally, because you're feeling it and you're embodying it on the inside. Okay, that was only the first two cards. Let's move on to the next two. We have the Miser and we have the Imprisonment card. So the Miser card talks about holding on to certain things, and it's holding on to them so tightly that it's actually making you, it's, put it this way, you're holding on to something that's more trouble than what it's worth. And it's actually causing you harm. Because if you look closely at the Miser card, it's like someone who, it's like they have this thing in their hands, or they have these jewels in their hands that feel very precious and valuable, and not wanting to let them go. But then you look at the Miser's face, and it's like a very old and worn out face, which is like an indicator that you are holding on to things that are actually detrimental to you, and that are kind of rotting you from the inside. Whenever I see this Miser card, I always think about your insides rotting, and eventually you start to see it in your face. So for example, if you hold on to a lot of stress, if you hold on to a lot of resentment and animosity and things of that sort, it actually will start to give you wrinkles. Like, that's just an example of how holding on to things energetically can actually start to affect you physically. It can start to affect your health. It can start to affect your state of mind. It just overall affects your energy. So there may be a need for you to release something that is, like I said, toxic, or it's more trouble than what it's worth. I really hope you can't hear that. I don't know it sounds like an airplane is literally flying outside of my house. It's ridiculous. It's going on all day. Okay. So also, with the Miser card being here, there's a need for some of you to evaluate what it is that's important to you, because I feel like you've been programmed to believe that certain things are important, and those things are actually not important in terms of like who you are as a person and what you value. So for example, if you've been taught that you have to have a lot of money in order for you to be worthy of love, that's something that's not necessarily true. It's something that's been programmed in you, but it actually goes against your true beliefs or your true essence, because before anyone programmed that into your mind, it's like kids don't have any notion of that, like think back to kids. They don't judge each other based on how much money they have, or they don't judge each other's value based off external things until they grow up and they get corrupted pretty much by people programming this into them. So there may be a need for you to look at the things that have been programmed into your mind as a child, especially if it has to do with like your sense of self-worth, like, oh, you have to behave a certain way to be worthy of love, you have to have certain things to be worthy of love. I feel like those things are trapping you, and they are causing you to be in a mental prison, and that's why it's hard for you to attract love. This especially goes for people, this might get a little specific here, but it might be able to apply to some of you anyway, but I think this is for a specific small group of you that really truly believes that you have to have money in order for you to be loved, and that's not the case. It's not the case, and that's actually keeping you trapped, because then what's happening is that some of you are actually chasing after money, thinking that it's going to fulfill you and make you feel loved, and then when you reach the top, you're going to come to find that you still don't feel love. So just be careful of that, and you can take that and apply it to any area of your life. It doesn't have to just be money. It's just something that you feel like if you have that, then you'll be worthy finally. and then you get it and you still don't feel worthy of love, or you still don't feel loved. And that's because that's something that's external, and that's something that's been programmed into you that is not accurate, and it's not in alignment with who you truly are. With the imprisonment card being here, like I said before, this is about you really imprisoning yourself, or you being imprisoned by the standards that other people have enforced on you when it comes to being worthy of love. This also talks about your fears. There's a need for you to face your fears, or for you to really analyze your fears. Like, what is it that you truly fear in life? Because that's keeping you imprisoned, and it's keeping love away from you. For example, do you fear success? Because like you're fearing chasing after your dreams, because then you might fail. Then you see how that can imprison you and keep you kind of stuck on the same level that you've been on. Or do you fear intimacy because you feel like you are going to be abandoned? You can see how that can imprison you, because then you might chase after emotionally unavailable people, or you might just stay away from people in general. See what I'm saying? So it's a need for you to analyze your fears in order for you to release yourself from those fears, because they're blocking you from love. And you're going to be surprised, is what I'm hearing. You're going to be surprised about what you're going to find when you sit down and analyze your fears, because some of you really don't even realize that these fears exist, because they're so subconscious and they're kind of pushed to the back of your mind. Like, it would take for you to stop and really analyze your past situations. What is it that you run away from? What is it that you feel when you do start to connect to something on an emotional level? How do you react? Like, there's a need for you to really just really analyze your fears, because they're keeping you trapped, is what I'm seeing. The last two cards are the inner voice and then also the child card. So I'm always happy to see the child card here. That's my inner child card, or I read it like that anyway. This is like your inner child really wanting to be nurtured and really wanting to be cared for. Like, there's a part of you that is still, you know, under the age of 5, that's living inside of you, that just really has this innocence and this purity, and just really wants to be heard and wants to be seen and wants to be loved. Some of you are needing to be much more gentle and patient with yourself. I say this all the time in my videos. Like, sometimes you need to treat yourself as if you are a child. Like, when you're talking to yourself, like in your mind, what does your inner critic sound like? Because that inner critic is actually speaking directly to your inner child. So you have to make sure that that inner critic is speaking the way you would speak to a helpless child. Like, you don't call a child stupid when they make a mistake. You don't tell them to just get over it when they're hurting. Like, oh my God, why can't you just get over this? Just move on. Like, when they're hurting, you don't talk to a child like that. So you shouldn't be talking to yourself like that either. And some of you have a very harsh inner critic that you're needing to, it's like you're needing to get that under control. I also have struggled with this, with having a harsh inner critic, because I was raised in a very harsh environment. So naturally, your inner critic is an adaptation of the environment that you've been raised in. So I had a very harsh critic because of the environment that I was raised in. And I actually had to remove myself, or remove that inner critic from my mind, by constantly challenging it. Like, sometimes it's literally me just telling the inner critic to shut the F up. I'm gonna keep it PG here, to shut up, because sometimes the inner critic is so out of control, like with the abuse or the shame and things like that. And again, that's been adopted from being raised by very harsh people with very harsh words. So some of you are needing to just really take that into consideration and protect and guard your inner child. Your inner voice is also here. The inner voice card is here. So with the inner voice, this talks about being in harmony and being in balance. That's going to help you to make decisions much more clearly when it comes to love and who you allow into your life, or what you allow into your life. So for example, when you start dating again, being in balance emotionally and spiritually is going to help you practice better discernment. Like, you'll be able to fully engage when it comes to dating. Like, you'll be able to be present and enjoy yourself while dating, but at the same time, you'll be able to know when it's time to cut things off. When you're not in balance, two things can happen. The first thing that can happen is that you are too open. So you are dating someone and you don't see the red flags. You just want someone with you so bad that you're willing to overlook red flags and things like that. And that's what you don't want. But then there's the other side of being imbalanced, which is when you just keep people out altogether. Like, you go on one date, you see like one little thing that's wrong, or that you perceive as wrong, and it's not even something that's a red flag, but in your mind you've created a red flag, and you're like, nope, I'm cutting this person off, I'm blocking them. I saw like the way they were, you know, a little rude to the waitress, or like something like that. Well, okay, that's not a good example, because if someone's rude to like a waitress or a waiter, that does say a lot about them. So that's not a good example. But you know what I mean. It's like you can start to spot red flags that aren't there simply because you're on high alert because of the things you've been through in the past. So once you balance yourself out and balance your energy out, you won't have to worry about that. You'll be able to be open enough in order for you to let people in, but then you'll still have those boundaries to keep bad people out. I actually want to clarify that inner voice card. I'm pretty sure that it's saying in order for you to balance these energies out, you need to tend to your inner child. But I just want to get more clarity on that. Because this is like a balance between the heart and the mind. So when you are too stuck in your mind, that means you're hypervigilant and then you are pushing everyone away. But when you're too stuck in your heart, that means that you are just open and willing to let anybody into your life. So there's a need to be balanced with the heart and the mind. Intensity in the reverse. Okay, intensity in the reverse. This is talking about some of you. Let me pull one more just to make sure I'm hearing what I'm hearing. I just want to be sure before I... Yep, okay. So the intensity card in the reverse here lets me know that in order for you to find balance, there's a need for you to stop chasing after that explosive sort of energy that you equate with love. Like some of us, and I think I mentioned this in the twin flame video, maybe, some of us equate love with this explosion of like, oh, as soon as I saw this person, I just felt this, like these fireworks and this passion, and that must be love. And that's not the case. Sometimes intensity is a byproduct of toxicity. Like it has nothing to do with love. It has everything to do with being on like an emotional roller coaster. So intensity does not always mean love. And I think that there's a need for you to find inner balance and inner harmony so that you can really see that clearly. So you can really see that it's like if you've never really experienced peace, it would make sense that you would chase after very explosive love because in your mind that's the norm. But once you do balance out your energy and you find peace, like while you're alone, while you're with yourself, then you'll know that that's the feeling that you're supposed to have when you're in the relationship that's right for you or the career that's right for you. Like you have to get familiar with peace is what I'm seeing. And one way to do that is to make sure that whatever is compromising your peace, that you may need to sacrifice it. Again, that doesn't mean that you have to just cut people off all willy-nilly like at the drop of a hat, because again, that's an imbalance. But some of you are needing to put on that father figure hat or that father figure role and know when it's time to lay down the law and distance yourself from certain things that are disturbing your peace is what I'm seeing. Because the more your peace is disturbed, the less aware you are and the more likely you are to be imbalanced and make the wrong decisions when it comes to love. So sometimes, like I said, you have to lay down the rules, lay down the law, just like a father would, and set those healthy boundaries in order for you to have peace, in order for you to be able to discern what's right for you and what isn't, is what I'm seeing. I'm going to extend this on my Vimeo channel. So I'll leave the link to that down below. I'm going to clarify these cards, get more in depth with them, and then we're actually going to go over some external things you can do to attract love as well, because like I said, this is all internal. This is like mostly what you want to focus on, but there are some things you can change externally as well in order for you to attract love into your life. So we will do all that on my Vimeo channel. I'll leave the link to that down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you over on Vimeo.